It felt like you were searching blind.
Hey guys, this is Matt. It's been a while. Today I'm just gonna share some pictures and a little story on our adventures in Cloudcroft, New Mexico, looking for the Posey treasure from Beyond the Map's Edge by Justin Posey. So, for those of you that don't know me, I played around with an old hunt called The Secret for a couple of years now, and then I wanted to try a different one, and then this one came along and I saw the Netflix series like everyone else and just thought it was really interesting. The first thing that stuck out to me was an interview that he did, that Justin did, and he said he wanted it to be for everybody. And I just thought that was really interesting. And he also said he did the kind of treasure hunt that he would have wanted to do. So I thought that was an interesting statement too. So, in looking at the poem and everything, uh, I was doing weird things like I copied the map and made it to where I could hit it with a black light and then the things would just light up to kind of see them a little bit easier. From the way that the map was done, everything looks kind of clustered up and it's kind of hard to see, but under a black light they would light up different. So I was doing things like that and trying to find constellations, and I think other people were doing the same. But then I just kind of like I just couldn't make anything fit, and that was the aggravating part of this particular puzzle. As fun as it is, it can be very aggravating because you can't seem to make a lot of those lines fit in a place. I understand that some of it may not be until you get boots on the ground, so there's only so much you can do from at home. But I kind of like the way that Forrest did his a little bit more, as controversial as it was, because you could make it fit anywhere. And the secret was like that. You could make it fit. You could make the poem and verses fit anywhere, which made it fun because everybody had their theories and stuff like that. Some I get it. Some people don't like that way. They like coding and just things that are encrypted and things like that. But that's not for me. I like more of just trying to figure out the riddle aspect of it and go from there. But anyway, so I got into looking back to the like he thought it was for everybody thing. And I'm like, okay, so everybody, that means everybody. So that would mean people that are disabled, people that, have a hard time walking. He couldn't put it somewhere that's just super, super difficult that you would have to have access to. So I went with that. So I Googled like trails for the blind. And I went to, it ended up sending me to the eastern half of the country. But so I kind of refined that search to be the western side of the country. And there were like two that popped up that were very interesting. One was in, I want to say Tucson. It was somewhere in Arizona. And the other one was in Cloudcroft, New Mexico. So when the Cloudcroft, New Mexico really perked my ears up because uh, I understood that to be in the book. Like that was mentioned by name when he was talking about Cloudcroft and Mayhill and Alamogordo, places like that where his family history was from. So I just thought that was interesting. So I went to that particular trail and it was called the La Pasada Encantada, which I looked under Google Translate and it means the enchanted past. So I thought, well, that can definitely live in time. So I just thought that was interesting. Water silent flight being like Cloudcroft or something like that. I was like, okay, this trail kind of interests me. So I want to go check it out and learn more about it. So when we got there and got to see it, it's a very, very small trail. And there's markers along the trail that talk about different things that you see and feel and can touch, things like that. And him saying that he thought he wanted to do it differently than Forrest, I thought maybe he's wanting you to do like a very Indiana Jones thing, right? And put your hands physically on something to have to get to where you want to go. And I thought, well, that'd be kind of a neat way to do a treasure hunt. So we did go check it out. And then when you walk up the trail, like one of the first signs you see is a shade. And it's like, well, that could be shadowed sight, and things like that. So I just started looking into that more. And then you get to another sign called animal bones. And it's kind of like just scattered like a jawbone and a rib and just things like that of elk and whatever else animals. I don't know exactly what animals they chose to use to do that, but they are real bones and they are intended for people to pick up and touch and see and everything. And it got me wondering, like, is that the hole, like around the bend past the hole? Because the hole could be like a grave. And if you consider the boneyard and animal bones like a graveyard, then you could, it's a little stretchy, but you could say, okay, well, that's just a hole. Because in the book, he did talk about how you can physically call something like rainbow, unicorn, sparkling springs, but if everybody else and the locals call it something else, then it's going to succumb to being called something else. And I thought the word using succumb was interesting because I usually use that when referring to someone who passed away or something. So I'm like, okay, so animal bones, that could be Mahole, the boneyard being the name on the map, etc. So I thought, okay, well maybe that could be the hole. So then I kept going around. And then you get to the pasture pole, and at that point on the trail, there's like this little makeshift teepee looking thing, shelter, but it's just a bunch of sticks laying on one another in the form of it like a teepee. And I started thinking about the action of doing that. So if you, and they also had like a big pile of sticks kind of next to it with the intention of, I think, wanting kids to take their own stick and lean it on there. And the motion of doing that kind of looks like you'd be casting a pole. So I thought, okay, that was interesting. And then I got to, let's see where, I'm not looking at the poems. So I'm kind of going off a lot of memory here. So um, then you had the foot of three thing. So right after that, there's like a stump that's about 3 feet tall. It's got a little bit of an angle to it, and it's intended to feel the rings in the tree, and then also like you could physically feel the bark on the tree and how tall a tree is because the rest of it is lying down. Um, and again, this is for people with sensory problems and disabilities, so they can go touch and feel and see how tall a tree is, right? And I thought, okay, that could be that. Who knows? And I went back to the educational part of Justin's book, where he talks about thermoclines and the amount of rain that gets determines where a thermocline can actually be because the lake uh, levels rise and fall, and then you got the kind of like underwater canyons, if you will, that have just been flowing through there for years and years and years, creating different depths, and you just kind of have to know where those are, how the water feeds into the lake to figure out where the best thermoclines and oxygen rich water is for fish. And so a tree ring works a little bit in the same way that it depends on the amount of rainfall. If you uh, how big the ring will be in certain years. So some rings are thicker than others based on rainfall, which is, not the exact same thing as a thermocline, but kind of the same principle that water determines what it can do. And so I just thought that was really interesting. And degrees themselves are like, circle, the degree symbols of circle. And but I mean, like I said, none of this really blew me away because it was kind of super stretchy. But like I said, I was going back to it. This doesn't work exactly like farces. And so I was kind of going off of that. And then at the very end, you had like tangled, twisted fawns, and there's a sign for roots where you can reach down and feel a root. And I thought maybe that's this tangled, twisted fawns. You could just physically touch a root, but the rest of it I could not make work, and that was the aggravating part of that trip was like there was nothing that would lead me to think anything was like Ursa East is around my weights or anything like that. And I just could not make that work. But we had a great time. It's a beautiful town. If you ever get a chance to go, even if you're not looking for the treasure, I highly recommend visiting Cloudcroft. Every They have like a lot of small shops there that you can spend a whole day just walking through, and a lot of it's jewelry and clothes and stuff like that. There's a few places to eat in town. We ate at a barbecue place, and I went to the one that more the locals eat at because I asked the locals like, "Hey, which one do you eat at?" And it was really good. I'm a little bit of a barbecue snob because I kind of like make my own barbecue and things, but I would give their brisket a solid B plus, and their sides were really good. The beans were a little different than we do here in Texas, which I kind of liked it. But they're super friendly people. Like everybody we talked to in that town, we kept bumping into this one guy that like I don't know, he had to be the mayor or something because he's like, "Hey, you again," and we ran into him a few times, and he would point us in this direction and that direction on places to go. But yes, everybody there is just super, super nice. The one piece of advice I would give, like if you try to book going there, you might need to do it in a little bit of advance if you're going in the summer, because it is a getaway for like 100-degree El Paso. So the people there, that a lot of the people we met were just getting out of the El Paso heat going up to Cloudcroft, and they were doing that. But yeah, this is it was a lot of fun. It's a beautiful town, um, and we plan to go back and just like stay a weekend and play around in the shops again because it was just a ton of fun. But anyway, that's our little adventure story from Cloudcroft. As I was like walking off of the trail a little bit, like a deer just like walked up to me, and the wildlife there is not very timid at all. You can just walk right up next to them. It's kind of weird in a way. Um, and then we did another trail where we walked up on some deer, and they just kind of just stood there looking at us too. They don't really run off. I guess they know when it's hunting season and when it's not. But yeah, overall, really really fun trip. As far as the hunt goes, I've got to go back to the drawing board because yeah, I just don't think it's there. I just couldn't make a lot of that verse work and on that little trail, but it did have a lot of interesting things about it that I just stuck out, like the Enchanted Past, the shade. The It's in Lincoln Forest. There was pictures of Lincoln behind that that lawyer, and Justin did say it was like searching blind, and I'll try to attach that little clip at the end. But yeah, that was really, really um, interesting that all of those things happened. But yeah, so it's just like I said, it's back to the drawing board for me. But we had a really good time, and I highly suggest visiting that little town because I was not expecting it to be that pretty and that much fun. So, but anyway, well, until the next adventure, this is Matt, and I shall talk to y'all later.
It felt like you were searching blind.